Okay, here's your icebreaker question to get you started for today. What kind of churches have you been to in the past? What kind of churches have you been to in the past? Talk about that, and you can press play when you're ready for the Bible study. You can see the yard is looking pretty good. Tracy mowed it today, and I was working on getting rid of some rotted wood and moving some poles around that were going to be, for like volleyball and badminton and so forth. All kinds of mess there. You can see some of the tools that I got to use today. I was using the sledgehammer, and I was digging. I was using the mattocks there for digging and so forth. And Tracy was on the riding mower, so she got to ride and cut grass today. It was pretty hot and nasty today working on the yard, but we got everything done in a couple of hours. We played to our strengths. Tracy did the mowing, and I did digging and chopping and so forth. And we used the tools that were appropriate for the job, and we had the right tools. My dad used to always say that when you have the right tools, any job is easy. I don't know if it was easy, but it was definitely easier than trying to do it without the right tools. And we played to our strengths. And that's what we're going to start seeing as you look at the church this week and you start reading the stories. What you're going to find is that there are people with different strengths, different skills, different abilities that are using those strengths, those skills, and those abilities, and they're doing it in conjunction with each other. And because of that, the church is going to grow. You're going to have evangelists that go out and share the good news and bring new people into the church. You're going to have encouragers that help people to feel at home once they get into the group and become a part of the church. You're going to have people who are more prophets that are speaking the truth, and they're kind of in your face. And prophets in these stories that you're going to read about are actually bringing new revelation from God. So they're not just truth sayers, but they also are receiving revelation from God. And then you're going to have teachers who are going to explain the scriptures, making it clear to people. We find is that as you go through all of those things, you're going to find that, I can't forget, and there are providers who are bringing in finances so that people have food to eat, and the teachers and so forth have a way of making their living. And so what you're going to find is that when all of these different people do their part, and they do it as a team, as they do it in conjunction with one another, then the body of Christ works together and functions together as a team, and the church grows. And so what I want you to do is I want you to read the passages here. I'm just kind of looking at it. And then talk about those 5 areas, just because those 5 areas happen to be in the scriptures for this week. Out of those 5 things, out of evangelists, which is sharing the good news with people who have not heard it. Encouragers, who are helping people feel welcome and at home in the church body. Prophets, who are speaking the truth, even if you don't want to hear it. A teacher who explains the scriptures, or a provider who brings in finances or food or coffee or whatever, the things that we need in order to function as the body of Christ. Out of those 5 things, what is your greatest strength? Talk about that, read the passages, and you can press play when you're ready to continue. I don't know why, but when I look at this picture, it just kind of reminds me of our old house in Cincinnati. It's been over 15 years since we've lived in that house, but the rope here at our home now used to have a swing on it. Now it doesn't have a swing on it anymore. And the stump out here reminds me of, we had a stump like this off on the side yard in our old place. It was cut down shorter though. And my one daughter, she used to call it her thinking spot. It was kind of nestled in the trees. And it was a place that she could go and just kind of be by herself and have her thinking spot where she wasn't bothered by her younger sister and brother, and wasn't bothered by parents and, so, by us. And she could just go to her thinking spot. And I ended up thinking about that and thinking about how many times I have spent time in my own thinking spot. But I really wouldn't call it a thinking spot like she did. I would call it a place of prayer. Because when I go to my quiet place, I like to go and spend time just with God and talking to God and talking through the day and the week and asking for God's direction on things that I need wisdom and direction with. And sometimes I'm praying earnestly for somebody or some situation and asking God to act in that particular situation. And so my question for you to talk about after you read the passage, because what you're going to find is that Peter ends up in jail, and there's a good chance that he's going to end up being put to death just like James was. You remember Peter, Andrew, James, and John? Well, James was John's brother. And now we have the first of the 12 apostles who has been put to death for being a believer. And now Peter's thrown in jail, and there's a good chance he's going to follow in James's footsteps at this point. Except for there's a whole bunch of people who are praying earnestly for him. So my question is, have you ever prayed earnestly and seen God act in powerful ways? Have you ever prayed earnestly and seen God respond to that prayer in powerful ways? Talk about that at your group and read the scriptures to go along with that, and then press play when you're ready to continue. As you get ready to read the last passage, what you're going to find is that Herod, who was going to put Peter to death, ends up dying at the hands of God. And he crossed the second line. He went too far, and God finally said, okay, I'm done with you. What we find is that as we're reading this and what I'm thinking about is that throughout the years, governments have come and gone. Throughout the years, people have come and gone. Businesses, organizations, economic systems, ways of making money, all of these things have come and gone throughout the years. But God has remained. God continues to reach out to people. God continues to work in people. God continues to work through people. God's church, as such, remains. Even when these other things come and go. The world goes on, and things come and go, but God is always God, and we get to be a part of God's plan. As you get ready to go into your final time with your group and go into a time of prayer, read the passage about Herod, and just talk a little bit about this. Who is God calling you to reach out to and bring into the church so that they will be a part of something that lasts forever, that does not stop as the world keeps going on and continuing out there? Talk about that at your table. Talk about that in your group. Pray for one another, and know that I'm praying for you, that you are not alone, that we are together as God's church. We are connected to one another, and we all use our different skills and giftedness to be God's team to go and make disciples of all nations. I encourage you to encourage each other in that. Help each other out in reaching out to the people that you know that need God and that you want to reach out to. Those friends, those family members, those neighbors, those people that you see on the bus or in the store. So talk about that, those people, who they are, who you want to be inviting and reaching out to. Talk about how you can do it as a group, as a team, playing to your strengths. And then pray for one another as well, as I continue in prayer for you. God bless.